This is Black Swan's Hardcore Bible. Today we are continuing with our series on the Danites. So this is part 3. We begin by going over the story of Samson, which is one of my favorite stories in the whole Bible. This is a story that pulls no punches, and this is pretty much why I decided to create a series called Black Swan's Hardcore Bible. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not something that you would normally teach in Sunday school or even on a Sunday morning, because the book of Judges is hardcore. Sometimes it's hard to grasp fully the evil intentions of some of its actors, some of its characters. If you're watching this almost like you're watching a movie, you might be viewing this as a typical Christian Saturday morning cartoon. But if you view the book of Judges like that, I think you can quickly be offended, because you're going to look at it from a perspective of a Christian lens, going, how can people hurt people in the Bible? And if you look at it that way, because I know many Christians that use the, how do I apply this to my life today? And I'm telling you right out of the gate that this is going to be very difficult for you to take an example out of the book of Judges and say, you know what, I need to apply this to my life today. So if we could just set that aside and look at it from a historical point of view, and the fact that there are actually humans involved, surprisingly, these are real people, we can just sit back and then go through the process of understanding what was happening in this time frame. And when we're talking about the story of Samson, we're looking at approximately from Judges chapter 13 to Judges chapter 18. This gives us a real snapshot of what the Danites were like. This gives us the entire story of Samson. And for a book to devote almost half of the story to one man should tell you that this is important. And again, this whole series started from the idea that I needed to dive in and try and see if I can understand perhaps why the tribe of Dan is missing from the 144,000. So this is what we're attempting to do in this Black Swans Hardcore Bible series. All right, so chapter 13, right out of the gate, and the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. This is a common theme throughout the book of Judges. Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. Right from Judges chapter 1, we see this happening again and again. There's a pattern here. The Israelites did evil, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of whoever their adversaries were. And then when they would cry out, God would send them a deliverer, a judge, a savior. So this is the case in chapter 13. We see that the Israelites were under bondage for over 40 years. And then we see a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah. And his wife was barren and bare not. So we get introduced to Samson's parents. This is very similar to what happened in the Gospel of Luke, where we get introduced to a couple by the name of Joseph and Mary, And then we get an angel appearing to Mary, and then also an angel appearing to Joseph in a dream, which is kind of interesting. And I'd love to do a deep dive on that in another series, because Joseph, it seems like the only time an angel appears to Joseph, the husband of Mary, is in a dream, which is reminiscent, of course, of Joseph 1.0 in the book of Genesis, but that's another story. So here we get introduced to Manoah, and an angel of the Lord appears to the woman. This is interesting because if you read in Genesis, you see angels coming down to earth, interfering with earth, and taking unto them wives, whomever they will want, whoever they desire, kidnapping them, basically making them their own wives, and creating Nephilim from them. Evil people, wicked people. And these children end up becoming giants, men of renown. Like, we're not talking ordinary giants. We're talking like beyond 8 feet, 10 feet. These are not basketball players that, you know, some of the tallest guys are like 7 feet, maybe. We're talking about guys that are 10, 12, 15, 20 feet tall with 6 fingers, 6 toes. These are creatures created for destruction. And this is one of the reasons why God destroyed the earth by a flood, saving Noah and his family. So here, after the Israelites are in the land of Canaan, Joshua divvies out the land, and their job now is pretty straightforward. Take over the land. That's your mission. Should you accept it? It's interesting in this case that an angel meets with Manoah's wife, and she's barren, doesn't have any children. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. And then he goes into the details of what she must adhere to, because this son is coming. Now therefore, beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine, nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarene, a Nazarite, unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. So the job now for Manoah's wife, it's interesting that this guy's name also is Manoah. It's kind of like a play off of the original Noah. But this angel appears and says, this person won't have a razor come to his head. This is the first time we actually get a person that is a Nazarite from birth, from his womb. And her job is not to drink any strong wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. This is interesting because if you think about the law of Moses, the Israelites had a strict diet. So let's talk about this Nazarite vow. How does this work? The basic idea is, and again, I am treating this video series as though I were sitting across the table from you having a cup of coffee. So bear with me if I get some of the details of a Nazarite vow wrong, because I am not a Jew, I am not an Israelite, I'm not an Israeli. So from the context, from what I understand, based on what I've read, the idea behind a Nazarite vow is when someone makes a vow to the Lord, a Nazarite vow specifically, these are the criteria until the end of the vow. Meaning, you don't drink any unclean thing, or you don't eat any unclean thing, you don't drink any wine, you don't cut your hair. Why is this important? It's important because there is a beginning of the vow and there is an ending to the vow for both men and women. So that's very important. So when women make a vow, make a promise, make a pledge, it has to be in front of a witness. If they're married, it has to be in front of their husband. And if they're not married, but they live in their father's house and they make their vow, if he says nothing, the vow is accepted. But if he says, I don't agree with this vow, you can't do this vow, then it gets nullified. Especially if can you imagine a young girl making a vow saying, I'm going to leave your house and I'm going to move to another town or whatever, and this is my vow? The father's allowed to say no. But if he doesn't say anything, then the vow is rubber stamped as okay. So in the case of, again, of making a vow in front of your husband, if he doesn't say anything, the vow is good to go. It's good to go. So perhaps later we will talk about this, how this kind of ties into the Garden of Eden. As remember, Adam was created first, then Eve, and then a little while later, she partakes of the fruit of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil and gives it to her husband who was with her. And then when God asked Adam, what did you do? He said, the woman you gave me gave this to me, and I ate it. Almost inferring that I didn't know what she was giving me. Perhaps. The only reason why I mention it in this light, because this is confusing to some people, and I've been stumped with this. Like, how could Adam, who got a word from God, God says, don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, don't do it, and Adam does it. So that was confusing for me for a while until I came across the story of Samson, where Samson actually killed a lion on the way to his destination. And he came back later and saw the lion, the carcass that was along the side of the road, and it had honey in it. So he took some of the honey from it, which was forbidden, especially if you took a Nazarite vow, because you're not supposed to touch a dead animal or a dead person, especially during the time of your vow. And what's interesting is he took some of the honey and he gave it to his parents. Now you can assume his parents were with him watching, but I would suggest that perhaps they weren't there, because the next few sentences basically say that Samson gave it to his parents and they were not aware of where it came from. So he did not tell them, hey, mom and dad, here's some honey that I got from that dead lion. Why? because they would have known it was unclean, and that was something that was taboo for them to do, including Samson. And I'm sure his parents would have said, "You are now unclean from your vow. You've broke your vow." But he didn't tell them that he broke his vow, his promise to not eat anything unclean or to touch anything unclean. So this is why I say it echoes what happened in the Garden of Eden, because Eve could have been picking fruit all day long from all these luscious trees and doing a little bit of a taste test. Oh, wow, this is good. I got to tell my husband about this fruit while he's doing something else. Oh, this tree is amazing. It kind of feels like she turned and gave him some fruit and didn't tell him where it was coming from. And he ate it and then realized, oh my goodness, this is from the tree of life, or the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. How would you like to be a part of that conversation at bedtime when they're arguing with each other? So, did you not know what tree you were eating from? And Eve could be saying something like, well, did you not see the type of fruit that was on that tree whenever you walk by? Because I know you're walking by it. I know you're looking at it probably just as much as I was. And then he would argue with her, yeah, but you stared at that tree for a long time. There were times where I would be asking, where are you? And then I would find you by this tree hanging out, cleaning up the leaves and all this kind of stuff. And I knew it. I knew one day you're going to cause this problem. And they'd bicker back and forth. I could just see that happening, because that's what happens with couples on simple things like you're late to get to your mother-in-law's place. And you're like, just tell me the direction. Are we going in the right direction? And your wife is saying, why don't you just use a GPS? And you're like, I don't need a GPS. I just need you to tell me, are we going in the right direction? And then you get lost and then you blame each other. This is what I could see happen the first night after taking of the forbidden fruit. So with Samson, he didn't tell his parents, and we're going to get to that part, but he didn't tell his parents that he broke the vow by touching a carcass, and also by eating something that was also touching the carcass. And that would be honey. The honey was actually inside this carcass. Like the bees that were around made a nest inside this carcass. That doesn't happen overnight. So that carcass was rotting as well. But we get back to the angel appearing to Manoah's wife, and then he goes and tells her husband, saying, a man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. So this is a very powerful looking angel. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told me his name. So right out of the gate, she was so stunned with the news that she didn't ask him where he came from. I would almost argue in some ways what side he is on, perhaps, because this is a terrible looking angel, very powerful. And she didn't ask him where did he come from. Neither did he tell her his name. And this is similar but different to Gabriel meeting with Joseph, saying, or actually also meeting with John the Baptist's father, Zechariah, and basically saying to him, I am Gabriel, I stand in the presence of the Lord, and because you question me, I'm going to make you dumb. So these angels are very powerful beings mediating between the law of Moses and man. This is talked about. Paul talks about this in Hebrews. But here we get an angel saying something to a couple. And the idea is you follow my instructions or else it won't go well with you. These are the encounters that these people are having in the land of Canaan. They're running into angels that are telling them what to do. So in this case, the woman goes to her husband saying, a man called unto me. And he didn't tell me his name. And I didn't ask him. But he said unto me, behold, thou shalt conceive. So I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to have a son. And I am not to drink any strong drink because she's pregnant, and neither eat anything unclean, for the child is a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death. And it's interesting that she's emphasizing the idea that they're not to eat anything unclean. And if you go back to Deuteronomy, if you go back to Exodus, you see that the Levites had the Levites and the Israelites had a strict diet, not to eat anything unclean, mainly because they were to make themselves different than the nations around them. They were to stand out. So then Manoah prayed to the Lord and said, O my Lord, let the man of God which thou didst send come again unto us and teach us what we shall do to the child that shall be born. So now Manoah is like, this could be a big burden. This could be a big deal. And I need this angel to teach me, to instruct me how to raise a child like this. And this is the prayer that Manoah is asking the Lord, saying, send the same angel that you sent to my wife so that he could teach me how to raise this child. And God hearkened unto the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God came in again unto the woman as she sat in the field, but Manoah, her husband, was not with her. So it's interesting that the angel appeared a second time to Manoah's wife. And the woman made haste and ran and shewed her husband and said unto him, behold, the man hath appeared unto me that came unto me the other day. This is the same guy. Manoah arose and went after his wife and came to the man and said unto him, art thou the man that spakest unto the woman? And he said, I am. So some people will say this is a Christophany. This is Jesus Christ incarnate showing up to Manoah. I would just say that this is an angel, a very powerful angel. Could be Gabriel, we don't know. But if you were watching this conversation, you could detect a little bit of a tone from this angel, as in, don't question me. I already gave my orders to your wife. Let her tell you what you are to do. Almost as to say, why are you bugging me? I had other things to do. And God himself sent me to go back to say the same things to you and your wife. Almost like he's detesting the idea that he has to have a conversation with Manoah. Look at this. Manoah said, now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child? How shall we do unto him? Like, tell us, teach us, coach us, mentor us, be with us every step of the way as we're raising this child from day one. I need you to teach us how to raise this child because we've never had a child before, not of this magnitude or any child. So I need you to be here. And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Of all that I said unto the woman, let her be aware. I already told you this, is the tone. She may not eat of anything that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat anything unclean that I commanded her, let her observe. So whatever I said to her, that's the deal. And I'm not going to tell you anything else. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, I pray thee, let us detain thee until we shall have made ready a kid for thee. Stay for dinner. And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, though thou detain me, I will not eat of thy bread. Almost like, I'm not going to eat with you guys. I'm not here to eat with you. If I were observing this conversation, I would almost say this angel did not like this couple. I would almost say that perhaps this angel was disgusted at the idea of coming to the land of Israel. Because when you think about it, God came down from Mount Sinai with at least 20,000 chariots of fiery angels. The mountain was consumed, and the law was presented to Moses and the Israelites, and they were fearful, and they said, we promise to do everything that we say that is in this book. And now you have an angel that is dispatched to go, and as he's looking around, every tribe is doing their own thing for the past 70 years at least. Ever since Joshua died, these people are doing their own things. They are worshiping just about every god under the sun, and this is detestable to angels that worship God. This is detestable. And this is just me saying, this is the Black Swans thoughts. I feel like that if it wasn't for the covenant that God made to the Israelites, that if it wasn't for the Ten Commandments being sealed in the Ark of the Covenant, being under the mercy seat where the cherubims were above the mercy seat or above the Ark, looking down, and then the mercy seats above that, I think this whole nation would have been disintegrated by the angels. Because they are his enforcers. They are his police force. And you can detect the tone. Like, don't question me. And I'm not even going to eat with you. Almost like I don't want anything to do with you. But because I honor my God, I am here giving you the exact words that you need. Nothing more. That's all you're ever going to see of me. Manoah said, stay with us. Angel said, if you detain me, I'm not going to eat your bread. And if you offer a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto the Lord. I don't need any credit for this. For Manoah knew not that he was an angel of the Lord. So this is interesting. All this time, Manoah did not know that this was an angel of the Lord. Why? Perhaps because it's been ingrained to Israel, to the Israelites, that if you see God, you will die. This is why I think this is an angel. A high-powered angel, to say the least. But this is an angel. Why? Because of the tone and because of the nature of what's going on in this conversation. So look at this. Manoah says unto the angel of the Lord, what is thy name, that when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor? And the angel of the Lord said unto him, why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it is a secret? This is why people jump to the idea that this is Jesus Christ, because it's a secret. I would suggest that this angel was disgusted with Manoah. It's like, I'm having a real difficult time spending any more time with you than I absolutely need to be. So why are you even asking? Why are we even having a conversation here? I don't want anything to eat. I don't want you to dedicate anything to me, and I don't want to tell you my name. So Manoah took a kid with meat offering and offered it upon a rock to the Lord, and the angel did wondrously. And Manoah and his wife looked on, for it came to pass when the flame went up toward heaven from off the altar, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar. And this is interesting, that it's almost like angels dwell inside flames. And Manoah and his wife looked on it and fell on their faces to the ground. But the angel of the Lord did no more appear to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto his wife, we shall surely die. An echo back to the Garden of Eden, because God said, if you take of the tree of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you will surely die. And now Manoah saw an angel of the Lord, thinking that this angel is here to destroy them. Manoah said unto his wife, we shall surely die because we have seen God. Because they most likely saw a great fire going up to heaven and the angel ascending into it to heaven. But his wife said unto him, if the Lord were pleased to kill us, if he wanted to kill us, he wouldn't have received this offering, a meat offering, at our hands. Neither would he have showed us all these things. Like, I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a child. And there's not a razor that's going to come to his head. Why would the angel kill us? Why are we going to die because we saw this angel? Like, think about it, husband. He wouldn't have showed us all this stuff if his goal was to kill us. That's not how God operates. And the woman bare a son and called his name Samson. And the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. The Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol. Right, so in our next story, we're going to go on to talk about Samson's first battles after taking a Philistine woman to be his wife. So this is where it starts to ramp up. You don't want to miss the next episode. If you like this kind of thing, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Click on the notification bell, and also feel free to leave a comment as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.